My name is Brittany Lewis, and I procrastinate. Welcome everyone, my name is Brittany Lewis and I am a creative entrepreneur, and in today's video I wanted to do a chit-chat and paint and take a little bit of a deep dive into the nuances of procrastination. Today's painting is an illustrated I completed for a children's book a few months ago about the life and times of Dr. Vivien Thomas. This particular image took about 14 hours or so to complete in Clip Studio Paint, and it shows Dr. Thomas observing the surgery at Johns Hopkins Hospital. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I've been in this state of metamorphosis for quite a while now, where I've recognized areas in my life that need improvement. And rather than wait on the improvements to magically take place or rely on something outside of myself to wave a magic wand and poof, all of my desires are made manifest, I've been doing the work to get it done. In essence, I've been doing some deep inner work to not only improve my career and my business, but to also improve my overall well-being to become the creative dynamo that I know myself capable of being. This has included taking classes to improve my business and marketing efforts, expanding my comfort zone and allowing myself to be more transparent about the process. It's also included realizing that I am a procrastinator. As a matter of fact, I'm so good at procrastinating that I work procrastination time into my schedules. Back in June, I attended a talk with Cass McCrory, who empowered us to see procrastination as a superpower, which by doing so makes you first aware of the procrastination, but it also helps you to navigate that space of being by knowing what exactly is happening and how you can use it to your benefit, but to also avoid the pitfalls of procrastination. Learning how to reframe procrastination was super helpful, but the buck doesn't stop there. Part of the power of knowing something about yourself is using that information to figure out why you do it in the first place, and also determine if doing that thing you do serves your highest good. Procrastination is one of those things that gets a really bad rap, but I don't think it's always a bad thing. Waiting to respond to an email, for example, gives you time to figure out how to best move forward, as opposed to jumping in head first without properly thinking things through, and that's just one of the ways that procrastination can be helpful. I had a client recently who emailed me about something she needed that I wasn't necessarily responsible for. You see, she had been working with two designers, myself and one other, and the other designer had the information that she was requesting. But before I responded, which I typically do pretty quick, I was like, nope, nope, not gonna do it. Let me let it sit. And it was in the very moment that I decided that it was time to write her back that she emailed me again with a retraction. She figured out that somebody else had the information that she was needed, or that she had what she was looking for all along. I'm not even sure. Waiting, though, can be wise. One thing I've come to realize is that there are levels to procrastination. And the deeper I dig into it, the more I realize that not all procrastination is made equal. Sure, it all results in the same thing, you putting off a task for a later time, but there are nuances to it. It's levels. For instance, I've learned that I procrastinate when a project is too easy and won't take long, so I wait until the last minute to complete the work. Again, I work this time into my schedule because I'm aware that I procrastinate. I've also found myself procrastinating to avoid dealing with certain clients and situations. A good example of this happened with a client who worried me so much, so much, that I would get anxiety every time my email notification would go off. So much so that I actually had to change the tone in order to make it through this project. And although the task I had to complete could have been completed relatively quickly, I found myself avoiding the task so that I wouldn't have to deal with the person attached to it. On the other hand, I knew that finishing it early would have ended the relationship quicker, but the thought of having to have a conversation with this particular client gave me the jitters, so I put it off until I couldn't. There are other times when I've procrastinated because I was stuck on a particular concept and couldn't see a way to move forward. But one of the biggest revelations that I've had is the fact that I sometimes procrastinate because I'm afraid. When I came to this realization, it was like a light bulb had gone off, and suddenly I could see why there was latency in my career and how it had been driven by fear. So how does this show up? For me, it all began with the idea of doing something that I'd never done before, teach people how to hire a graphic designer and illustrator, which later manifested itself into my series, Hire Like a Boss. You see, I'd had 2 very specific projects in 2023 that brought me to the realization that, one, not only does a client's budget dictate the type of service that they can receive and are probably used to receiving, but on the flip side, undercharging for my services attracted clients who didn't align with the way that I typically conduct business, and also attracted clients who don't necessarily value my value. And 2, no one is really preparing businesses, regardless of their budget, how to hire professionals outside of Fiverr type of spaces, and how to have conversations with these professionals to bring their projects to life in a pain-free, smooth, and easy way. No one is teaching people how to do this, and how to value the service and opinions of the professionals they choose to work with in a way that doesn't make their service providers break out in hives. So I remember at the same conference where I sat in Cass McCrory's Procrastination talk, I got a chance to speak with Elise Bennett, who is a marketing genius and super generous with her information, about my recent experiences, as well as my desire to expand my business to work more consistently with financially lucrative projects, and how I still really enjoyed being a guiding light for my clients who have never worked with a professional before, but I could no longer afford to do it at the rate that I was doing it. So she gave me the idea to somehow figure out a way to find balance in my clientele, but to also help those who may not be familiar with the ins and outs of hiring a professional, and why having a decent budget is important to the type of service that they have access to. Or at least that's how I interpreted our conversation. It took me until fall of 2023 to know exactly how I was going to do just that. With the idea in mind, I got to work writing down episode topics and even scripted the first 6 episodes. And I was bursting at the seams with excitement, ready to do this thing that I felt so strongly and passionately about. But something within me found every excuse under the sun not to sit down and get the recordings done. And I mean every excuse. And with every solution to the issues my mind would raise, it would then come up with another excuse to not get started. Man, I was worried about my hair, just all kinds of stuff. My clothes, my accent, making sure the setup was perfect and the lighting was perfect, and all kinds of stuff that didn't mean squat at the end of the day. My husband kept asking me, okay, well, when you gonna get started? And it wasn't until I became aware that I was making all these excuses that I questioned why I was doing it in the first place. It all boiled down to fear. This was new territory. Who am I to give advice to people about hiring a graphic designer and illustrator? But then I reminded myself, lady, listen, you're tripping for one. And 2, you're the person who really wants to see people succeed and is tired of taking clients who don't really value your experience and expertise. Period. Full stop. I was afraid of being judged and being seen. I was downright scared. And the way the universe tends to work, around the time that I was coming out of this self-imposed funk, I was seeing videos and all kinds of contents nudging me to get the thing done. I remember seeing a video with the singer Tank, who was talking about working with the producer, and Tank was wanting to make a song or a video or whatever it was he was working in, but he was wanting to make it perfect. And somebody told him, man, you're looking at it like an artist. Just do it. It's people out here far less qualified, far less talented, doing it and making it work. Just do the things you need to do and don't worry about it. Okay, universe, I hear you. I was definitely overthinking the situation, and in doing so, creating a false reality based in fear. And I hadn't even recorded the first video yet. I was tripping, y'all, for real. So what did I do, right? When I finally came to the realization that I'm creating this suffering, I went into my laundry room, found myself a shirt, found myself a head wrap. I was like, hair is not going to be an excuse. I made sure to plug in the battery to my camera, make sure it was charged, made sure that my mics were charged, and I had finally committed to recording my first video. But not that first night, y'all. There's levels to this. But the very next night, when my house was quiet and still, I put my Sri Yantra t-shirt on, I wrapped my head up, and I sat down and got it done. It took me a couple of tries to feel confident, and the fear didn't immediately subside, but I didn't feel scared. But I did feel scared. I was scared. It's all get out. Hell, I did it because I was afraid. I did it to get past the urge to make another excuse to remain in my contentment and non-expansive situation. It was through that discomfort that expansion lied. If you find yourself afraid to move forward or uncomfortable to do something new, do it uncomfortable. Do it because you can't win it if you ain't in it. The way we've been wired, we tend to focus on the worst possible outcome. Well, rather than ask yourself what's the worst that can happen, flip the question on its head and ask yourself what's the best thing that can come out of this? And how likely is that to happen if I don't do anything? Well, shoot, I'll answer that part for you. It won't happen. But if you want something different, you're going to have to do something different. When it's all said and done, the only person or influence stopping you from getting from where you are to where you want to be is you. There's nothing else. There's nobody else. So make a decision and stand in that decision. Do it scared, do it nervous, do it unsure of yourself or the outcome, but do it anyway. I saw a post of a comic recently because I follow comic artists and I enjoy that type of stuff, right? But in this comic, there was an artist who expressed being scared to post her art online. And I've had conversations with people who felt this way. Hell, I felt this way. But you have to do it anyway. There's freedom on the other side of fear. I was watching My Neighbor Totoro not long ago for like the 100th time, and something about it this time clicked for me. At the beginning of the film, the family, a dad and his two daughters, move into an old house that the dad jokes might be possibly haunted, right? The girls, scared of the possibility, went into each room hollering. They didn't stay back. They didn't decide, well, we're not going to go find our room or we're not going to go find this room. They went into each room hollering. They pulled themselves up and they confronted each room, scared as all get out. Afraid they may have been, they confronted their fears and yelled and even laughed. I say this to say, you gotta pull yourself up and confront your own fears. Don't let your life be dictated by a possibility of something not working out. It ain't even happened yet. And things are just as likely to improve your current situation as they are to go the other way. But you'll never know if you don't try. Fear-based procrastination is the most crippling type of procrastination. But if you're aware that you're putting off a task because there's some part of you who's afraid to move forward, then use that fear as a vehicle to get it done anyway. Use it to say, okay, I'm scared. It's just what it is. But this might be a sign to stand on business, as the kids say. Use that fear as a motivation to get the job done. I remember hearing illustrator Cass Witness say something to the effect that if you don't get your ideas out, then inspiration stops tapping you on the shoulder and somebody else will do it. So why not let it be you? So that wraps up today's Chit Chat. If you enjoyed this type of video, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I've been trying to make a conscious effort to record myself working, so I'll have more process videos coming up in the future. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, peace.